Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're here with Dale L. Roberts to talk to us a little bit about Amazon keywords. So Dale is a self-publishing advocate. I'm sure if you're involved with self-publishing at all, you've seen his YouTube channel. He's also an award-winning author with over 50 titles to his name. So congrats, Dale. That's a huge accomplishment. 50 titles. Yeah, I don't know how you do it.
I don't know either. Somebody should probably tell me to slow down.
Right? That's
it's
amazing,
not a contest, Dale.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's start out for those that are just, maybe thinking about getting into self-publishing and don't have any idea what, Amazon keywords are or how they affect the listing and all that stuff. Yeah, you just want to explain a little bit of the basics of like what Amazon keywords are.
Keywords, I always tell people, it's the bridge that connects your book with your ideal readers. Ideally, you want to say the right sequence of words that would signify a search of your content from the reader. So for instance, if you're putting out exercise books, it's very important that we go, okay, who are we trying to reach? Because there are a ton of exercise books out there. And let's be honest, not all exercise is going to fit everybody's needs. Is it exercise for women over 55? Or is it exercise for teens? Or is it exercises for athletes? There's so many ways we can break this down, but just understanding keywords is the thing that just brings your ideal reader over to your publication.
Cool. So okay, so you have the keywords that you can actually input into your listing for your book. But then from my understanding too, there's also keywords that Amazon just generates kind of willy-nilly, shall we say, based on your copy, your descriptive copy, and possibly even like the interior copy of your book.
Right. A lot of people, and let's walk this back just a little bit. We have those 7 backend keywords when we're uploading to Kindle Direct Publishing. Any of our books, be it ebooks or print books, we have 7 backend keywords. We can have up to 50 characters per slot. Now, a lot of people think that that's where it lives and dies. Like people think that that's the only spot that you can be able to capitalize on getting search engine optimization. That's what it's called. When you're getting keywords, you're trying to optimize your listing so you're more discoverable through search engines, more importantly, Amazon's. So in any event, with the keywords in the 7 backend, it doesn't just stop there. What Amazon does is they look and they say, okay, what's the title? What's the subtitle? Are there any relevant indicators or keywords in this instance for this conversation that would bring more people to the party? More people to come buy this particular product. Because believe it or not, Amazon wants you to win, because when you win, they win. Then they also look at category selection, because within categories, you have other books that match yours. Therefore, there's going to be a readership that's continually wanting to come back for that information or for that particular type of content, be it fiction, of course. As an example, let's just say I choose a category for romantasy. We'll just say, when I select that category right there, it's going to place me alongside other books that are similar to it. And because those books are similar to it within that category, there's keywords that are going to be associated with those ones that are going to kind of spill over, because they're going to go, oh, well, if this works for these guys, it probably works for these guys. So this is where category selection is absolutely paramount, and a lot of people shouldn't take this too lightly. It is just as important as selecting the proper keywords, because if you choose the wrong category, you're going to place your book in the wrong virtual bookshelf, and Amazon's going to serve your audience, serve your book out to an audience that may not like that. So let me give you a good example, and you're going to crack up at this one here, Dave, that there are some, like for instance, I've seen some romance books out. And this has been a while, okay, because the category system's a lot tighter these days. They had selected, it was like a romance book it was like a doctor was the protagonist in it or something like that. And they put it into a nonfiction category for doctors. And I'm like, oh, no. if you can't go into a library, I want you to pretend like you're going into a library and you're putting your book onto a shelf. If you can't put that book onto the shelf and see it matching the other titles, it's the wrong category. And so you're going to train the Amazon algorithms. That's this very complex mathematical formula that gets it to where Amazon can kind of predict what customers are going to look for next and try to match them up with the ideal experience, i.e., buying more stuff from them. So this is why choosing the right categories makes a whole world of a difference. And within the last year or two, they've really cracked down on abuse of categories. Sometimes we refer to it as quote unquote category squatting, where you're putting your book into the wrong category for the purposes of trying to put yourself into a #1 bestseller spot, or in some instances, accidentally. So I'd love to give the romance writers a pass. Chances are very likely they meant well, but it does not qualify for nonfiction.
So
So
no underwater basket weaving to get first place.
yes,
No.
you must have heard me speak before, because underwater basket weaving for dolphins it just does not belong over in things like romance, for that matter. So it's understanding that category placement that makes a huge difference. And you're right. After a while, what ends up happening is sales is going to be that proof of concept, that digital trust that you place within Amazon, which it's called relevance, to be honest with you. More that you sell your book, the more emphasis and weight it will place on a given keyword attached to that book. And of course, the more that it starts to get bought, it's going to see all the other products that were bought that were similar to that. And it's going to start to bring in even more of these keywords that could match up for this one. You will find, and I knew that we would end up, stumbling on this at one point or another. There's Publisher Rocket, great tool, fantastic tool. It does come at a higher premium, but I'm telling you, it is so worth it if you just take your time to use the reverse ASIN search tool. And what it does is it takes the Amazon Standard Identification Number, although otherwise known as ASIN. It will take that, boom, you slip it in for a book, let's say a super popular book. When you put it in there, it's going to do a reverse search of all of the keywords that are potentially linked to this particular publication. So if you put in Rebecca Yaros publication into there, you're probably going to get like a rain of keywords that are just going to come on down, because there's been a ton of products being bought in association with that particular one. So it's a very interesting aspect when you're talking about keywords, where they can live and where they can die. But it is really no one specific part that it's going to stay. 7 backend keywords, fantastic. Category selection, great. Title, subtitle, and sometimes series name. You put the keywords in there, but you can also organically work them within your description. And I've seen so many times where people refer to saying like, well, that does not get indexed, meaning it's not placed within the search engine algorithm of any relevance. But actually, there's a word cloud that's associated with those descriptions. So there's still power in that. And also, I'm going to stack on top of that one right there is it's also customer validation when you're putting keywords within your description organically, meaning that you're not forcing it in there. You should be able to read it, and it doesn't read like AI put it together. No offense to AI, I'm not punching down on it, but let's just be honest. Sometimes it's a bit stilted. And so in any event, you don't want to just force these keywords into your description. But having the keywords in your description does help validate customer search, because let's just say, for instance, they're looking up underwater basket weaving for dolphins. It pops up your publication, and then they go and they read the description. Oh my gosh, underwater basket weaving for dolphins. This is exactly the thing I'm looking for. It says so inside my book description here. So that right there makes a huge difference. Now, there's other nooks and crannies that we can slip keywords into, but I feel like I'll dominate the next 30 minutes just talking about that alone.
Yeah. Well, since you brought up too, Publisher Rocket, maybe let's dive in a little bit to like where you start out in developing your keyword or keyword phrase list. And just so everybody knows too, when we say keywords, we're not just saying singular words. We're actually talking about mostly phrases that have specific words in them. But yeah, like where do you start out in your process? I mean, once you decide on the book title and the book that you've written, like where do you go from there?
Well, you nailed it. That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought it up, that keywords aren't specifically just a singular word by itself. They can be, but typically you're going to find more. It bears more fruit the longer the phrase gets. So this means that you're starting to niche down and identify a specific pain point of a particular customer. So sure, again, you could do exercise books, or if you were to do exercise books for women over 55, there you go. You're getting real solid on that one. You're identifying a specific pain point and drilling further down. Now, when I'm doing my publications, I typically will do all the research in advance. Now, will I go real granular on the keywords? No, probably not. I'll just have a general idea. I want to know what my audience is when I start to put pen to paper. And when I'm all set and I'm getting ready to do my keyword research, the main thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to brain dump all of the topics that I've covered in some capacity within my publication. Or in the instance of fiction, it would be all of the tropes, all the settings, all of the character types, all that type of stuff. So we're just going to just write it down. And when I say brain dump, get yourself easily like a dozen to 24 different keywords, just enough to seed yourself out for additional keywords that you're going to find. Now, this is where I will start to look for proof of concept. Now, let's just take Publisher Rocket and put it on the shelf right now. It is the cheat sheet, and not everybody has the $200 to spend to get the lifetime software. So I completely understand that. It's where I started at. So I want to kind of walk everybody back. The very first thing you're going to want to do is visit the Amazon Marketplace in a browser through incognito mode. Now, if you're in Chrome, all you have to do is press Control-Shift-N as a new, and it'll open up in incognito mode. Now, as far as the other browsers, I'm sorry, you're going to have to Google it. You'll figure that one out. But you go into the Amazon Marketplace and drop down into either the Kindle store or books for the categories. And then you're going to start to type in one of your keywords that you wrote down. Just start to type it in. Do not press enter. In fact, just type in the first word and allow Amazon to auto-suggest some particular keyword phrases that customers are already looking for. And what you're going to do is start to write those keywords down that are relevant to your particular publication. If it's not relevant, or if you're looking at it and you're going, I'm not really sure. If you're not sure, it's not relevant. Just toss it on out, because there's so many keywords that you can be able to search up. Now, when you have an even deeper list at this point, now it's time to go through and sift, because not all keywords are as valuable as each other, and keywords value and relevance trends over time. It depends a lot on sales, popularity, things like that. So you're going to take this list and you're going to now go in incognito mode. And by the way, I kind of got way ahead of myself here, Dave. I forgot to tell you why incognito is important. It's because if you look at it in a regular browser, Amazon's going to give you keywords based on your search history and based on your buy patterns or what you've purchased in the past with Amazon. We don't want tainted evidence. We want what the general population can get. So that's why we go into incognito mode.
So make sure they don't log in as well then. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to log into the Amazon Marketplace. You want to just use it, like I said, regular in incognito mode. And then when you find a particular keyword, you've put your list together. Now it's time to go ahead and search those keywords. And if you find your stump, by the way, here's a little trick here for you, Dave. You start to seed out those keywords or whatever. Let's say you don't have enough. Use the alphabet. So do one word A, one word B. You just cycle through those and you're going to find some really good gems. Now, we've got our big list. Now we're going to go ahead and take our time and go through and search these particular keywords. The very first thing I'm going to look for is product volume. How many products are associated with this particular keyword? You'll see this in the top left-hand corner. It'll typically say 1 to 16 of 200 or even like 200,000. Just depends on those. So what I really try to look for is like how many products are associated with this keyword, because if there's a ton of products, chances are very likely it might be very competitive. So I'll typically kind of be a little bit more lay off from it. But I want to also pay attention to what books are coming up for this. Are these books related to mine? And also number of reviews and the rank. The rank is going to be a big deal here because I want to make sure it's good. Now, there's a tool out. It is called Kip Scout. It's put out by a company called Dibbly Create. It's a Chrome browser extension, 100% free. Like literally you have nothing to lose on this one. You can even set up a free Dibbly Create account for that. You don't need to have a pro account for this. And what Kip Scout is going to do is when you go onto that page, let Kip Scout get to work. Boom, hit it. And what it's going to do is it's going to populate the entire list of books that are on that first page search. And it's going to tell you their ranks. It's going to tell you the number of reviews. It's going to tell you all this pertinent details. What we're going to want to do is look at a good average of an Amazon bestseller rank. From this point on, I'm going to call it the ABSR. This ranking system is determined about based on sales. So obviously, the more sales you have, the closer you are to the number one spot. The fewer sales that you have, well, the higher your number is going to be in the ABSR. So we want to see something that's proof of concept. When we're putting our keywords in, I want to make sure that there are people actually buying products actively through this particular keyword. But I also want to make sure it's not so stinking competitive that I have no edge. So what I typically try to find is an average of about 10,000 ABSR to 100,000 ABSR. This roughly equates to about 1 to 12 sales per day, which I think is 100% achievable for just about most any author. This depends on a good marketing plan and promotion, all that type of stuff. So anybody that's just trying to grab keywords and just expect to sell books, I'm sorry, guys, keywords don't sell books. All right. What sells books is a good quality cover, great book description, great price point, and of course, reviews. You need that social proof. So when you go through with Kip Scout, you'll be able to see those ranks. It makes things a little easier. Some people probably like, well, can't I just do it without? Sure, you could. You could probably just click on every single product detail page. You got to scroll down partway down the page, look at it. Okay, great. Write that down and go back. Just use Kip Scout. It's going to save you a lot of time. There was another plugin, and for some reason you're just reluctant to use Kip Scout. It's called DS Amazon Quick View. I always used the free one before. It accomplishes the same thing essentially. So if you wanted to get the upgraded version, I think it's like $20 for lifetime access or something like that for DS Amazon Quick View. I don't know. I never upgraded, but having the upgraded option allows you to look at all the Amazon marketplaces rather than just one particular region. So that is how I find those keywords that are of proof of concept. Now we can save all that time. It sounds like feel like we're going into a late night infomercial. If we can go ahead and that's not all. Let's go get Publisher Rocket. Publisher Rocket would be the thing that will save you a ton of time. So if we were to just remove all the incognito stuff, all that stuff, we go back to just doing that seeded list that I initially talked about. I literally can just pop that stuff into Publisher Rocket, and it's going to give me all that information in one dashboard. I can export it into a file that I can go ahead and organize and sift through. So easy. It'll literally save you hours of time because the process I just shared with you, you're going to spend at least 2 to 3 hours. With Rocket, probably an hour. If you go beyond an hour, chances are very likely you're probably hitting your head against the wall, and you might want to get a couple of your peers to come in and look at your keywords and give you some suggestions.
Cool. How do you feel about putting other authors' names or book series in keyword phrases?
Definitely avoid that. That is a big no-no according to the Amazon's terms and conditions. They do not want you to put anything that is not yours, that's not your intellectual property, and that is not your name. However, that's just in the 7 backend keywords. It's okay from what I understand that you can put it in your description. So let's just say fans of Stephen King's It is going to love this horror tale about clowns and, I don't know, kittens. So sometimes that helps in lending a little bit of credibility to the author, and it gets it to where it gives the potential reader some context, especially if you're an unheard of person. Like you say Stephen King, okay, I know what he's talking about. Oh, It, okay, now we go, okay, yeah, clowns and kittens, count me in. That sounds like a lot of fun right there. Although I'm not sure now. I'm going to walk that back. My editor will probably kill me for saying something like this, but any event, putting in the description, fine. Now, there's also the one where a lot of people get very confused when they're using Amazon advertising to promote their books. They think they can't use author names or author books within there, but you can put that in there. It is 100% ethical. And in fact, a lot of those authors are probably running ads on your books at the very same time. So it is fine to put in those particular keywords in an Amazon advertising campaign 100% okay, and they even encourage it through Amazon advertising certification courses. So you're going to be fine there. But as far as your 7 back-end keywords, don't do it. As far as your title and subtitle, if you get permission from that author and you have written permission, you are legally allowed to use that, then great. If not, don't do it. So for instance, Dave, gosh, it was a nightmare for me to get permission back in 2020 to use the name Amazon on my books for the Amazon Self-Publisher series. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you how much work that took. And it just wasn't worth it, because honestly, Amazon wasn't the one that was drawing in the readers. I was the one bringing in and selling the book. So lesson learned on that one. The big thing about this one was, when I did get permission for this, I was cut off from video advertising through Amazon advertising platform, because according to their terms and conditions, you can't use the Amazon trademark name at all in your ads ever. And there was no negotiating. They're like, yeah, we might have given you permission, but we didn't give you permission to do video. No.
Oh my Lord. That's horrible. Well, what about, do they have other policies when it comes to back-end keywords, like those 7 keywords? Are there other things that, like, you big no-nos besides that?
Yeah, there's huge big no-nos. You want to avoid using Amazon's name, of course. You don't want to use anything that is underneath the Amazon name. So that means Amazon, that is Kindle Direct Publishing, that's Kindle Unlimited, that's KDP Select. Don't put it in there. The other one is the 4-letter F word, free. I'm sure a lot of people's brains were going in another direction, but free is a bad word, because what it does is it brings in an overwhelming amount of search volume back to the reader and such. And even though, let's say, for instance, you might have a book that is permanently free, that you've got an ebook that you put onto the marketplace just to give out, kind of like a way to bring in people, like a Costco sample. They don't want you to put that inside your keywords. They do not. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions. So for instance, a good friend of mine put out books about gluten-free living, and he needed to put the F in there. Like, he had no choice. Like, that's what my book is about. And here's the funny thing is, they put his book to draft, and they messaged him, said, hey, look, you can't use free. Sorry, I can't do it. And he's like, but that's what the content is about. So if you happen to have free associated with the particular book that you're putting out, and it's not a price thing, or it's relevant to something beyond the price of the ebook, then you should be fine, but just expect a little bit of pushback. But Amazon trademark, author names, anything that's a title that is, somebody else's intellectual property, those are just off limits. There are other ones that are shades of gray. So for instance, you can't say subjective things like best book ever, or the greatest book ever written about ebooks. Yeah. The other thing is, they don't like to have product descriptors put in there. So for instance, if you've got a keyword for your ebook, they feel it's redundant for you to say ebook or ebooks inside your 7 backend keywords, because naturally, when people are searching for this and it's being brought up to them, it's going to be brought up to them because it's already categorized underneath ebooks. So that's their thought, is that's redundant. Don't use that. But those are kind of, the subjective claims, as well as, any of that type of stuff. It's kind of that gray area. There's been times where they have slapped people on the wrist and go, don't do that. And then other times, most of the time, they just don't say anything. Best book ever. Great. Yeah, we don't agree. We did tell you not to use something like that, but they also didn't threaten to ban you. The big thing is, though, don't put keywords that inaccurately describe the content in which you're publishing. That's a big deal right there. They don't want you putting in, you might find the most, the least competitive and most in-demand keyword there is. If it does not relate to your book, I don't care how much money you think you're going to make. It is just, you are literally just, you're getting yourself into hot water is what you're doing. So find keywords that accurately represent your publication, in the same way that you're going to find categories that accurately, place your book in the right digital bookshelf.
Right, because ultimately they're looking for keywords that are going to actually convert to sales, not make people angry for finding products that are unrelated to what they're actually looking for.
Yep. Yeah. Bingo. So exactly. Yeah. It's, you don't want to be putting your Dr. Romance story into, nonfiction books. It just doesn't make sense.
medical exam studying. Yeah. Right. What about genre related? Is that kind of a waste to put genre related keywords in your backend keywords just because you're already picking your genres and the categories?
Yeah, you would be redundant if you were to use the same exact keywords that are used within a category, what I'm going to call a browse path. And I'll say some of these nerd words and we break it down for you. Browse path is how Amazon's category system works, where it's kind of like a tiered system. It'll start at the top layer. That'll start with a product. The product could probably be the Kindle store. And then it breaks down into a category. And then it breaks down into a subcategory. And then it breaks down into what's called placement, which is the very lowest category possible. It's easier to hit #1 bestseller status in that placement. And that's what a lot of authors shoot for. Obviously, everybody wants to shoot for the top, being the #1 product and all of that. But, it becomes easier as you go down this particular browse path. So I'm sorry, I lost a little bit of my train of thought here. So we were talking about categories.
Yeah, no, we're just talking about genres. Like, is it redundant to basically put the genre, like, romance for women over 50 in a
Yeah.
keyword versus, yeah. Okay.
So for something like the categories, if you've already got your book placed within a specific category, in theory, it would be redundant to use any of those keyword descriptors that are within that browse path. Because again, remember how I mentioned, ebooks, it's redundant if you put it inside your 7 keyword slots because you're already inside a category that's with ebooks.
Yeah.
So it's still redundant as you go down that particular browse path if there's a specific string of words or a keyword phrase within that category to put it in there. Now, should you not do it? Is there something against the law in doing it? No. If you feel like, you know what, Dale, I can't find any keywords to save my life. This one's a great one. I did the research. It pulls in a right amount of search volume. Like, I love this. This is fantastic. Go with it. Because sometimes intuition is going to guide you really well, but I would really recommend that you make a note to yourself that, yes, you have a redundant keyword because something else might come along in the next month to 2 months and you go, Eureka, that's it. I can fill in this slot. Take that one out, boom, throw it on in there. So if it's a placeholder, it's great. Just make sure you put a note to yourself to go back and fix that later. And which, by the way, this, goes perfectly into like how often should you change your keywords. First of all,
I was going to ask you that. I was like, so should you, and how often should you?
I saw it in your eyes. I saw it in your eyes. I just knew it was the next progression of things. What I would recommend is at least 30 days. Allow 30 days for Amazon to serve your book out to the audience and such. Now, here's the thing is, don't just sit back and expect them to serve it out. Okay. You need to show proof of concept, meaning that you're going to need to actively market and promote your book because that's going to drive up sales and therefore it's going to build relevance with Amazon and they're going to be a little bit more likely to serve your book out to the audience. So 30 days, okay? Don't go like every other day. It's just going to drive you insane. And if your book is selling like gangbusters and you're happy with it, don't touch those keywords. Leave them alone. I don't care how messed up they are. I don't care if you were violating that last rule of saying like, redundant category placement right there inside your keywords. Don't do it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. All right. But I would say at least every year, go through and audit them. And this is where I always try to back up all of my keywords for a publication. In fact, I actually have something I called my metadata sheet that I make available to people. And it's 100% free. I made it available through Google Docs. It's at dalelinks.com/metadata. Download that thing. And then part of the sections include ebook keywords, print book keywords, and I actually spread out the print book keywords between paperback and hardback. So that way you can mix it up if you want to have different keywords to experiment with each of the publications. And put a reminder to yourself inside your calendar. Another year from now, just audit your keywords. Go back, do your research, or if you've got Rocket, you can also do your research through that and take your time and see if, okay, this keyword's not as performing as well. This makes sense because my sales have been declining over the past several months. So maybe if I go ahead and pull this keyword out and try a new one here, it'll be able to get better results. But I would say, 30 days at the soonest, because if you're trying to do it every day or every week or every 2 weeks. It's just not enough time for Amazon to serve that out to enough customers. And especially if you're in a very niche category of some sort. And again, underwater basket weaving. That's our go-to thing right now. We'll go to Werebear Shapeshifter this time around. Werebear Shapeshifter Romance. So
Oh my Lord. I'll have to look that one up, see if there is anything.
it is a niche. Don't get me
hilarious.
started on ABDL. That's adult baby diaper lover. So that's a different type of it's big. It's big. There's a market for it.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Well, thank you for joining us, Dale. I appreciate it. It sounds like we're going to need to get you back too to maybe talk about, keywords in relation to doing Amazon advertising as well, because I know that's in a completely different animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. And for those of you out there, Dale's link is in the description, so you can go check out his author or his speaker page, and also his award-winning BookFest book, Self-Publishing for New Authors. So if you're looking at self-publishing, or if you're already in self-publishing and you want to learn more, and also highly recommend Dale's YouTube channel. With really easy, it's just his name, Dale L. Roberts on YouTube. Go check it out. Fantastic channel. Appreciate all you're doing for the community, Dale.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.